I just want to quickly go through some of the notes I made. So I put myself in a position of being a student. Okay, so somebody who is now going to apply to grad school. Okay, and then I have some questions based as a student. So ignorantly, what is a good CGPA? What would you say a good CGPA is?
Let me tell you, this thing is very subjective. Oh, I have friends who had 2.2, and like a 2.2 is it's very different for different countries, but a 2.2 in Nigeria, so there's first class, there's second class upper, there's second class lower. So in Nigeria, we say a 2.2 is a second class lower. I've had people, amazing people who had second class lower in school, but they got like fully funded scholarships, everything really good. So I'd say a good CGPA is good enough to get for what the scholarship or the body or the university is looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ask me personally, I say a good CGPA is having a 2.21 and above. Because I had a 2.1, I didn't have a first class. I had a 2.1, and my 2.1 wasn't even like a very strong 2.1. It was a 2.1 that was waking up. It shouldn't be alive. But guess what? This is how I defended my 2.1. I said I was still top of my class with my 2.1 that was waking up. Why? Because I was very honest. We had only a handful of 2.1s in my department, and I was one of the top people with a top 2.1 CGPA. No one had a first class. So that's how I defended my 2.1. I said, look, it was tough, but God gives his toughest battles to his toughest soldiers. So I did it, and that's what I define a good CGPA as.
Okay, okay. I don't know if Nigerians use the same grading as Ghanaians. Is your total over 5 or 4?
I think ours is 5.
Okay, okay. In Ghana, ours is over a 4. Yeah, ours is over a 4. Okay, so can I have the list of opportunities or the templates that you used?
Yeah, sure, I can share that with you.
Okay. Um, and then, so what does a person do if there are transcript delays? Let's say I put in my application, they're asking me what do I do?
Oh, I feel you. I've been there. I've been there. Transcript delays. This is also very subjective. For some places, you can't actually submit your application without a transcript, like an unofficial one. It's
One.
not.
Okay.
You can't submit that without at least a transcript. If you're if you submit an application without your transcript, I don't know. I don't really know how that works, but I can just give an assumption that they'll probably give you a deadline on when to
Mm-hmm.
provide a transcript. And what you should do is to bother your school, like bother your own undergrad school, like say, hey, like what's holding you guys, what's keeping you guys, and pray to God, whatever you believe in. But I think that that's why I also really advise people. I got my transcript like 2 years or 3 years before I needed it. Fortune
Oh,
prepares, favor fortunes you prepare.
what you favors the prepared?
Thank
Yes.
you. Yes. So
Mm.
I always get things long before I need them. I got my
Mhm.
transcript long before I needed it because I wasn't even sure what I was gonna study at the end of the day. So I'd say if you can, but if you can't, just really follow up with your own alma mater to make sure that it gets to the university, or ask the university if they can accept an unofficial one where it could just be your department that compiles all your grades to just show you the courses you did and like the grades that you scored.
Mm. Okay. Okay. And then I have one more thing. So when you were presenting, you mentioned, I mean, one more thing on that question. So you said writing, you spoke about when you are looking for someone to write a reference for you, right? So I just put here that when you mentioned that we should have pointers, okay. So one suggestion I have for that is when you are making pointers for people to write references for you, group it. Okay, so if I have 3 people writing references for me, I'll tell one person, I need you to speak on maybe my character. Okay, I need the second person to speak, and usually for this one is for like my professors. I'll say I need you to speak on my academic excellence. Then the third one, I'll say either you write on both scenario, so I give you a third scenario. And one way I found that this helps is that you are not having people say the same thing. If I have people say, three people telling my, like the application I'm putting in, telling the people that I am hardworking. I mean, three people saying I'm hardworking, what does that? Duh. But then if you have one person saying she's hardworking, one person saying she's good academically, one person saying like she showed integrity at the workplace, like boom, boom, boom. Those are three different things. Do you understand? And it just makes you stand out. So that's something you can practice or use moving forward. Okay. And then yes, another thing, you said using ChatGPT as a resource for searching. So, as Mirabelle mentioned, YouTube is an excellent resource. You can take free courses in prompt engineering, okay? And how this can help is you can literally tell ChatGPT you are maybe a career advisor or academic advisor, right? These are my qualifications, or I have a master's degree. I want to study in the US, I want to study in the UK. I want fully funded options only for master's program. Give me a list of programs to apply for, literally. Okay, so GPT is your friend, you have to use it wisely. Um, it's okay to be confused. So now let's leave the question aspect. You mentioned that it's okay to be confused, and I think this is something that most people don't come to accept early, like in life. Okay, we are literally all doing life for the first time. Nobody has done life before. So what's the problem if you are confused? Like those that you think have figured out life, they only figured out the aspect where they were. Okay, nobody knows like is certain about tomorrow. Okay, so you have to give yourself grace. And I remember especially in my journey. So I finished undergrad. I gave myself a year before I went to grad school. I needed it because initially I was like, I want to just finish undergrad and boom, jump into grad school. I started looking into applications and it felt like my head was going to burst, like, because it was just so much. Like, how do I choose? I didn't know the course to choose. And bear in mind, my final year, I had to think about like finishing properly before like putting in applications. And I was trying to do everything together. See, I just felt so overwhelmed. One time, so I had some advisors who were helping me and everything. I just told one person, I said, see, I beg you, let me just give myself 1 year. It's not rush. I cannot do. So I just put everything aside for 1 year and then I put in applications the next year. So like the 1 year break, during the 1 year break, and then I went to grad school the next year. Okay, so it's okay to be confused. Handle the confusion with pride. And something I tell myself when I'm going through periods like that is this too shall pass. Okay, like
Okay.
it will pass. It's part of being human. So you will get through this. And let me see, I wrote learn from people and tweak it to favor you. Ask the damn question. Some people don't want to ask. See, this grassroots name is confusing. Okay. If you are going to just ask, just ask. It's okay if you're asking the question 2, 3 times. And that's also one reason why like I'm putting out this series. Okay. Because I don't when I was in that position, there was never enough a number of people I could speak to. Okay, I will speak to one person, and I'm in engineering. Okay, so I completed with a bachelor's in computer engineering, and I was so torn between pursuing a career in hardware or pursuing software engineering or combining both. Okay, now there was never a point where I could speak to enough people to say that okay, I've spoken to this person, I have all the answers I want. Sorry, I don't think I ever got to that point. I moved. I just like Mirabel said, when sometimes when it's the time to move, you move. Okay. So ask as many questions as you can, and hopefully by God's grace, you wouldn't find somebody who won't give you that attention because people definitely want to help. But I mean, it's part of the human nature. We like to help as much as possible to feel useful. Okay. And yeah, when it comes to securing funding, Miracle mentioned something, and I definitely agree. Building your portfolio with volunteer activities and then projects that you've undertaken, make sure you are documenting. So it was a similar thing for me as well. When I was putting in my application for Mastercard, first of all, I looked at the values Mastercard upholds. Okay, and then I was like, okay, I have an NGO. I was running an NGO when I completed secondary school. we had some projects while I was in undergrad. So what I did was, how do I tailor the work I've done, okay, to suit the values that MasterCard looks out for? Now, in this situation, you've already gone through the project. Okay, how you describe your project to highlight key values is really essential. And I think that's something most of us don't know how to do early. You've done a lot of good work, but then when it comes to speaking to what you've done to what's it called? Mirabelle, just a minute. I lost my train of thought when you said the thing. Okay. Speaking to what you've done so that it highlights the actual work you've done, okay, and then people can so that people can value it is very important. And I mean it's a skill you learn along the way, but the earlier you do the better. Okay. Let me just attend to this.
And you know, I perfectly also I really agree with every single thing that you said. And starting from how also being confused is a part of life. To be very honest as well, when I finished my post grad, I was like, now I see why people do gap years. Like it's very important to get your head. Very, very some people are very, very like fortunate enough to fortunate enough to know what they want to do next. But some people are more like, okay, I've just had like a shift, a brain wave, a brain shift at this point. So let me take a break and figure out what I want to do. But again, it's really all about how much money you have or how you can sustain yourself. So many things fall under so many different factors
Yeah.
that let you
Yeah. Yeah,
carry on.
the money part is very true. Like, think about it. If you were putting in an application and you didn't need anybody to fund you, like, there are lots of things you wouldn't consider. Because, hello, I'm paying. I have, I mean, a qualifying GPA. I'm putting myself to, there are even certain essays you wouldn't have to write. So, certain essays in your application process only come up because you are looking for funding. Okay, if you are paying for yourself, there are quite a number of questions that you wouldn't be asked or requirements that you wouldn't be asked for. Yeah. And then finally, let's move to the reflective insight. So what's one thing you are most proud of from your grad school journey so far?
Hmm. When I first came, I told myself that every single day will be Christmas and that every single day will be an opportunity for me. Christmas is a very special like season, and I just felt like I would treat every day as though it was the best day of my life. And I would wear my best clothes literally every day of school,
Mm-hmm.
which is what I did. I showed up in my best self, showed up in my best clothes, showed up in my best moods when I could try to show up in my best moods. Because hey, a master's degree can put you in multiple
Mm-hmm.
different moods. Um, but I showed up as my best self. And so when you ask me something I'm most proud of, I guess I would say that showing up
Mm-hmm.
in the best possible way that I could and doing certain things that I was afraid to do. And also doing my dissertation. I was very step by step. I was very confused. I thought that all my colleagues were chilling. I thought that they had everything all figured out. You know, I remember that in my first week, my very first assessment, I think I had a 55 over 100. And not only did I have a 55, they also took out the 5 marks out of the 50. I left me with 50. And that's because I submitted like 2 minutes late. And I was so embarrassed, you know, I was like, oh God, everyone is so smart except me. Bro, I got a scholarship with 0.6% acceptance rate.
Mm-hmm.
Like I needed to beat my confidence back into myself. But
Yeah.
you know, I just think that I learned from there and I just said, okay, like failure in quotes is just part of it. I just realized this is not the way to do research. This is how much time I need to give myself. I just figured out ways that didn't work and turned out to be something else, you know, better. So I say I'm most proud of myself for navigating those processes. you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And definitely, I agree with you, Mirabelle. Masters can be, it can slap you. It can slap you. Like, but then very importantly, like one a similar thing I also tell myself, like don't look like your troubles or the stress you are going through. See, I remember there were points that I can be sleeping at 3 a.m. because I mean like I have to rush as much as possible. I try to like plan ahead and everything. But there are just some days that things will take you by surprise. Okay. But one thing I really maintain is when you walk into a space, be in the space.
Mm.
Okay. Don't I really don't like it when people are like, oh, what's wrong with you? Why are you looking tired? I'm good. I got me like I'm good. Like do you understand? And not only would that boost your confidence, right? It says something about you. Okay, there's this term that is called the word is sprezzatura. Okay, I'll write it on the screen. And that is the ability to make is it to make difficult things look easy or to do difficult things easily, one of them. And that was something I really had in mind going through my graduate process. I'm like, okay, Holy Spirit, I know this thing is hard, but how do I build this tenacity? Like, how do I build this confidence that I'm going through this? Everybody is saying it's slapping me, it's hard, it's whatever. But when I show up, I want to look like I got everything under control. Like, you
Yeah.
understand? And I mean, you declare it, you write down the vision, and then I mean, it comes into fruition.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Mirabelle, I think I have two more things. What advice would you give to someone considering grad school, especially, and this is the key part, especially someone with a similar background to yours?
Ooh, consider it well, oh. Consider it very well. It's, I think that we all make of the experience what we want it to be. Some people come to grad school to get money. Like I was in a business school. Some people came to the business school because they already had businesses and they mostly just wanted to get into accelerator programs and get funding based on it's Edinburgh. It's close to London, not that close, but it's in the same country. So other people had different agendas. You know, some people came for many other things, you know, that I can easily joke about, but this is such a professional conversation we're having. Um, but have your own goal, like your own long-term goal of what you want to do a master's for. It's not an end, but it's a means to an end. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
when you know what you want to use it for, then don't be afraid to try. Look, I was really the kid. Like you see me here today looking all pink and like looking all confident.
And
Like,
when I met you, you look so like in control, like
bro,
yeah,
if
like
if you know what goes through
yeah.
my head, I'm like, oh, like I'm like, but in my head it's like, hey, God, oh, where do I begin from? What's
Yeah.
happening here? So you know, I really was the kid who had very low self-esteem, very low self-confidence. I hated walking in front of my classroom, hated it so much. That was in secondary school. Then in university, what changed my life was like they say your friends can make or mar you. I keep saying this all the time. The people I hung out with really inspired me. And I never got envious, never get envious of anything. If there will always be people better than you. When you see people better than you, go make friends with them, give them their cake, give them their flowers, hype
Mm-hmm,
them, you know.
mm-hmm,
But then like learn from them. Iron sharpened iron, learn from them.
mm-hmm,
So when you're trying to go for a postgrad degree, if you see people who have been there ahead of you, ask for advice. To be very honest, not everybody would answer you because of time or because like they just have other troubles that they have and they won't answer you. But don't take it personally. There's so many resources out there. Go to YouTube, email like 10 other people, maybe five will answer you, maybe one will answer you. Just
mm-hmm,
shoot your shots. Just, you know, make sure that you're also prepared ahead of time. Have the goal in your mind, see it with your mind, see it with your heart, and you know, believe that even if you don't have the money, I didn't have she come to pay the school fees. But you know, I'm fortunate that the work that I did in the past was deserving of this guy seeing my work, which is MasterCard Foundation, seeing the work that I did and feeling
mm-hmm.
I deserved, and me and Esther deserved to be here. So
Yeah,
I don't. Everybody's situation is unique, you
it's
know.
different.
So
Yeah,
go for it.
yeah. Um, so this is the final one, and then we'll be done. Okay. If you could go back in time, what's one thing you do different? I know we said 25 minutes, but I think we've passed 25 minutes.
We've passed it a long time.
Um, so if you could go back in time, what's one thing you do differently in your grad school experience?
I think I enjoyed every moment, but if I could go back in time, I think I would make a lot more friends with the locals. So
Okay.
I was in Scotland, and I think that I didn't really get to make a lot of Scottish friends. I think that I made more international friends because the school is very international, and so I just hung around with, like, a lot of international people.
Mm,
That and it's not too late anyway, but I would have done that. Um, what else would I change? I don't think that I would change much else. I think that I was rightly directed in every process and every way that I was. Um, I was very fortunate. I did an 11 month master's, which took me to probably 5 countries in the 11 months. And I was like,
cool.
I was in, like, so many places.
That
And
sounds good.
yeah, and my dissertation, I was also very afraid of my dissertation because I wanted to do a capstone project, a project that did not require me just writing, but a project that required me building a dissertation that required me building something tangible. I was very afraid. I was very scared. I was like, how do I build like a tech product? I don't know anything about this field, but I did know about building digital, um, like marketing and building digital things digitally. But I didn't have like this, you're a
Mm-hmm.
software engineer. I didn't have those skills, you know. So I had to learn how to code. And I thought for the life of me, I didn't know that I could code. I just
Mm.
picked up and I started to code because necessity is the mother of invention.
Ah.
But
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad that I did the difficult thing of like going for something more difficult because I had to travel down to Nigeria and go to like 6 different states and had to travel to London just to do research, which opened doors for me. Like, I spoke to people who had worked in Apple, who had worked in IDEO. These are like top design companies around the world. So that really doing those difficult things, even when I thought that people wouldn't answer me, some people didn't answer me, but like, other people did. So it taught me a lot about things that I was doing wrong and things that I could improve on. So um do the difficult things.
Thank you so much. If you put two people who like talking together, you
And
try to
giving
restrict
quality, valuable advice is the two of us.
hmm, it will just be one person adding fuel. Anyways, this was really lovely. I think if my younger self was watching this, she would find it very valuable, and that's the point of this series, right? To help people who are confused, to hear true stories, to hear real stories, very especially about people who have probably been where you have been and then made the most out of it, and to encourage you that you can do same. So for today's episode, we had Mirabelle Mora, and thank you for your time. Next time we'll have someone else. All right. Thank you. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Bye.
Thank you, Esther.